For us, it feels like a film, like a very luxurious, high production valued film.
Andor, it's about the family we've created. We deserve this.
Season 1 just finished, and wow, that was 12 episodes of amazing TV.
Even my rewatch, I had an incredibly tough time pinpointing why this show feels so
Andor is taking Star Wars in the right direction.
It's pretty clear that this show was conceived because the people behind it actually had a compelling story.
Andor is amazing, and easily the best Star Wars project released during Disney's bumpy reign of the franchise.
Andor is pretty fucking good.
Andor is Star Wars perfection.
Star Wars Andor is so good it actually makes me mad.
Andor. Man, what a show. Andor, I seriously think Andor rekindled Star Wars for me. I was going through a time, like a lot of others out there, where Andor came out after Mando Season 2 and all those other couple shows that came out in between them. And Mando Season 1, great. Mando Season 2, great. Mando Season 3, not so great.
What the hell is even that?
It seemed so oversaturated, and it seemed like the same thing. Just crazy cool characters going on crazy adventures and defying all the odds, and it's definitely seemed like a lot of it was plot armor. And I was loving it because I love Star Wars. Star Wars is literally my life, but I definitely felt a little, it's a little, And then Andor came out. 12 episodes of Andor, which if I'm not mistaken, that's the most episodes that's come out in any series Star Wars related, except for the animated shows. It showed Star Wars to me in a whole new scope. I think I liked it. I like it even more than I remember it being as good. I can't even talk. It's so good. So good. So the weight of actions. Clem's death. Cassian's adopted dad's death. His death is one that really, really hits a different spot. Lots of characters die in massive sacrifices or huge moments of triumph or other facets like that. Like Anakin dies in rage and anger and becomes Vader. And then Vader dies redeeming himself and killing the Emperor. And there's so many examples like this. And they all were sad and all like, oh man. But Clem's death in Andor was like, they don't even show it. They don't even show the aftermath of him hanging on Rick's road. But the weight and the feeling of dread you get from knowing he went and helped and was trying to diffuse a situation and got caught in the crossfire. And I think that moment just resonates because it grounds itself in this world, that this oppressive empire is so broad in its execution of oppression and tyranny. They don't care. They don't care. They were going to kill everybody, and even though Clem went there to help, he just got classic example of wrong place, wrong time, and the good person gets it. His death is literally the catalyst for Cassian's entire character arc, reminding us the sheer cost of rebellion and helping others underneath the Imperial's rule. Another scene that really resonates with me is when Cassian kills the two drunk guards on Morlana 1. usually moments like that are signified with a crazy cinematic boom or a drone or a riser or a crazy orchestra. But here, it's a lightning strike. Which is in itself kind of cartoonish and is used very much so in cartoonish ways in cartoons. But for some reason, it just grounds. It grounds the scene. And it just makes it feel so real. Like it's kind of cheesy, but I believed it. Like for some reason, I believed that's exactly what would happen in that moment. And then Cassian, he realizes what he's done and the gravity and the disbelief of it. He doesn't just kill and move on. He doesn't just kill and he kills seemingly unimportant characters, but it messes him up, and you can tell he's distraught at his actions. Which brings me to another point that I want to talk about. The cowardice of the Empire. Something that's very apparent in Andor is the cowardice of the Imperial officers, especially the ones that are on Aldhani, and just the grand scope of all the officers involved in this show. Their fear and indecision come to a sharp focus, especially faced with rebellion. Like, they don't know what's going on. This is new to them. We have to remember that this isn't a time where they don't really think rebels are a thing yet. They think that there's just people who are unloyal and just street rats, but there's no rebellion yet. There's no collective, more confident and happy when he's in moments of power. When I really realized this upon my rewatch. I didn't really notice it at first, but on my rewatch, I realized the moment where Cyril Karn is hiding in the doorway and he's waiting for Cassian, and Cassian sneaks up behind him. He's happy. He's in power, and it gives him a surge of you can see him smiling from it. This significant power shift is a very different dynamic for his character. Not only do Cassian and the main characters like Luthen and Mothma start to change, but we also see characters' evolution in like Bix and Brasso and the shop owner and his son and the person at the transfer station. Like, all these characters, even though they're background characters, I believe their stories too. Not only am I having to be convinced of the main character stories, which is hard to follow in some Star Wars pieces of content, but even the background characters, I believe I'm grounded and I know, I feel like they have a story. This is very prevalent with Tim and his sheer embarrassment and shame for turning Cassian in, which is so evident. It's so incredibly well depicted in this show. The consequences of turning Cassian in just show the weight and the highlights of this world. He's unable to sleep. He's anxious. He's drinking. And above all, he forgets things. One scene that really, for some reason for me, makes it feel so grounded is the scene of the bellmaster guy with the hammers doing the morning roll call. He's like, the way he just is into his role, even though it's just ringing a bell, it feels like that's his life. And these people on this planet don't have crazy lives. They're working class. They work. And you can tell he takes pride in his craft, which is super cool to see, because we don't get to see that side of people in Star Wars all too often. The grand scale of the sets combined with the intense costume designs emphasizes that the working class struggles are depicted through characters like Brasso, making the series feel just real. Now that brings us to terror of the Empire's rule. In other Star Wars installments, there could be hundreds of battle droids, or hundreds of ships, or vulture droids, or dry droids, and massive space battles. Like, I think about the opening of Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are flying over Coruscant, and it doesn't even bother them. None of that scene bothers them. Nothing about it. They're basically unfazed, and they're amidst thousands and thousands of ships over literally the crown jewel of the entire Star Wars galaxy, which is Coruscant, trying to protect and save the Chancellor. And even then, I don't feel the emotional weight. Love the movie, one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but I don't feel the weight and the saturated feeling of the story yet. Whereas in Andor, the scene of the TIE fighter doing a low flyby when they're prepping on Aldhani, the presence of just one single TIE fighter it terrifies the crew on Aldhani. It terrifies them. They are so scared, and just the power and emphasis that they put on just this one, seemingly in the grander Star Wars, seemingly expendable thing, it seems like an almost unstoppable force in Andor, which shows the scale of this story. And I've never been scared of a TIE fighter before, and that scene, it made me kind of realize, like, oh man, when I'm not in the seat of Anakin or Luke or these crazy rebellion people, one TIE fighter would be absolutely terrifying. And it instills this fear in me that I've never felt before from the Empire. I never have, and I got it from one TIE fighter in Andor. The series highlights the meticulous processes of investigation and action and secrecy. The level of discretion taken to keep Luthen's rebels and his whole operation in secret is ginormous. The logistics and resources used by the rebellion, such as the rebel spy in the ISB, needing to put a symbol up, and not only do that to convey one thing, but break something else somewhere to convey that thing means this, just to relay a simple message, illustrates the lengths they go to keep this whole operation under wraps. Is Luthen's ability for deception. Even Luthen, a key figure in the rebellion, he deceives his own spy in the ISB that he's had a relationship for what seems like, I think, 7 years, he says. And he lies to him about being responsible for Aldhani when he asks, showcasing the complexity and moral ambiguity of those involved in the fight against the Empire. The differing perspectives from the indigenous people of Kenari to the proletariat of Ferrix and the elite of Coruscant highlight how cut off these groups are from each other. Everybody converges on Ferrix in the end, demonstrating that despite their radical differences, they are one people on one galaxy under the oppression of the Empire that needs to be brought down. Though they're so different, they are all under the same roof, even though it's galaxy-wide. This unity in struggle reinforces the idea that they share a common goal, a fight for freedom, justice, and a new democracy. And this comes from Nemec, is the struggle to try. And that sounds so weird for me to say as an avid Yoda quote connoisseur. It's hard for me, but Nemec's words, remember this, try, when he's talking to Cassian, resonate deeply in a universe where traditional Jedi philosophies usually prevail. When Yoda says on Dagobah, do or do not, there is no try. I love, that was my favorite quote from since I can remember. My mom would say it to me all the time. Loved that quote. It underscores the weight of the character's struggles. For these characters in Andor, all they have is the ability to try. They don't possess the odds, the lightsabers, the massive armies, the plot armor, or the family name. Like Skywalker, all they can do is try to make a difference. Now, the lack of positivity in this show. Lots of shows have quick lows, quick highs, quick lows, quick highs, and they're all over the place. And that can be very good pacing. I'll admit, that can be very, very well put together pacing. But one striking aspect of Andor is the absence of smiles and positive emotions. Until the rare moments of victory or power, the characters are constantly faced with dire circumstances, which makes sense. If we were on that planet under Imperial rule, with those people coming around our houses and rummaging, I don't think we'd be smiling and saying, "What's up, John?" across the street, like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" "Oh, not too bad." No, it's gonna be a miserable, dull, and decrepit environment. When victories do occur, however, they feel earned. Not like a little quick quip or a quick haha moment in other Star Wars movies, but they are far and few between, emphasizing the struggle and the harsh realities under the life of Imperial rule. That just makes me believe it all the more, because I don't take it as a comedic moment. It's real, and I feel like, oh my god, like, yeah, I would be happy too if I was in that situation. In Andor, every action has consequences. Again, Tim's decision to call in Cassian leads to a tragic end, while Cassian's choice to shoot the guards brings the Empire crashing down on him. It links the audience that's watching it, and it hooked me. It just, because I knew every decision that they were going to make and everything that they did had a role to play and wasn't just senseless, mindless dialogue. Unlike traditional Star Wars narrative, Andor, it's not a chosen one story like so many of the Star Wars installments. He's not a Jedi, nor does he hail from a powerful lineage. He's a broken man, deeply in debt, scraping by on favors and ask sakes, and I'll get you next time. I promise I'll pay you. Living in a world and a life filled with uncertainty, because maybe you haven't lived like that, but you've seen it and you've known people who have lived through that, what Cassian has gone through. It embodies the struggles of countless individuals fighting against oppression without the aid of an all-powerful force. He can't call upon the force to help him. He can't. He's just a dude on a shit planet with shit cards. He's just this real, believable, grounded, and broken and traumatized character. The establishing shots. One thing I didn't really think about at the time, maybe because I just didn't have an eye for it, and I wasn't making videos, and I didn't know much about cameras or how they worked even when I watched this for the first time, was perspective. Perspective shots. Unlike the typical grand, wide establishing shots of lots of Star Wars shows, Andor opts for an eye-level perspective quite often in this show that feel genuine and relatable. I feel like I'm in there, I feel like I'm there. I'm not like zooming through space and zooming. I feel like I'm there, watching it, there with them. This choice invites viewers into the characters' lives, making their struggles and everything they go through feel all the more grounded. They are an invitation to connect with the characters on a deeper level. So, in conclusion, Star Wars Andor is not just another Star Wars entry by any stretch of the imagination. It's a profound exploration of rebellion, sacrifice, and above all, the human experience. Throughout its grounded storytelling, intense character development, and meticulous attention to detail, the series invites viewers to reflect on the weight of their choices. So, again, thank you. Thank you all for joining me on this deep dive of Andor and why I love it so much. This has been an absolute joy, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let me know, please let me know what you thought of Andor. Did you like it? Was it too slow for you? Was it amazing? Is it your favorite piece of Star Wars content? 'Cause it might be mine. Not quite sure. It might be mine. And what moments stood out to you? What was your favorite part of Andor and why? Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember, may the Force be with you, and God bless everybody. Bye.
And then remember this. The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. And know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try.